plays.
I love that about him.
But he's not on the red side, so the counter pick has to be a little bit more conservative.
Or flexible. Poppy mid, please.
Oh boy. The Doyenby special, Scion mid?
No.
No? I won't invoke his name again.
Thank you. You know, you are a big lover of Dade, so shouldn't you not be so appreciative of Doyenby right now?
What is this world where Dade and Uzi are on the bench of a team that's winning?
What is that? I agree. Okay, so Corki rising up the old priority list. Again, a first pick. We saw a lot of Corki bans in the last game. Kindred will not be there for Flawless.
It's also a bit of a blocker pick for some specific mid lane champions. Gangplank's banned this game, of course, but we saw Coco completely demolishing a Gangplank in yesterday's series. A lot still up. Fiora, amazingly not spotted in the last series, is available.
But the Quinn up, which was available, or which was banned rather in the last series. So that may be a Fiora deterrent, at least for the moment.
You don't have Coco anymore. Put that Jace away.
No more Jace. Well, they did play Jace before, so there you go. SBENU played it, but it'll be Tom Kench and Elise. So for the moment and for these teams, seems to have replaced Rek'Sai as the dominant jungler.
Again, just the reality of early parts of the season. There isn't a global meta yet. There isn't 6.1 solved to the degree that we saw the 2015 season patch solved by the time World Championships came around. So
well, I don't think anything was solved by Worlds with the introduction of Juggernauts and the
I don't remember.
sweeping
What are you
changes,
even talking
so
about?
I'm just
No,
going
it
to
was
go
a
ahead and
settled
disagree
meta.
with you.
Everything was fine. We had lots of video. What are you even talking about?
Definitely no Darius falling off towards the end of that tournament.
Definitely not Darius. There's a skin I want to see. Oh boy, the insta-lock.
So Lee Sin for Flawless. We get to see it. Of course, he did so much work on that pick during the promotion relegation match for SBENU. Absolutely took over the game. Alistar once again for Secret. Now CJ has to decide what they're going to be doing with their support. Madlife has only played Alistar and Thresh so far this season over 4 games, but it will be his Bard coming back, which was one of his better champions in 2015.
I believe, and I might be misspeaking on this, I believe he's 2-0 lifetime on this champion. He played it a little bit. You've got some time to find stats. I'll fill the time, but he played it sparingly, but looked good when he did play it as, oh boy, I have to compose myself. I see the sight of a Vel'Koz.
A blind pick Vel'Koz.
Where they already have 2 AD carries they're mulling over. The dream is probably not going to happen, and Kog'Maw's another one I really want to see come out. Nuclear mousing over some of his famous champions. You mentioned the Jinx before.
Ever since he was back on Prime Optimus and his name was Zet Engine, he has been a Jinx main.
Zet Engine. That's a name.
That is a name. It actually comes from the fact that there is no Z sound in the Korean language, so in Korean it is represented by the J sound.
So that's Jet Engine.
It was Jet Engine, but it was interestingly translated. So I'm going to go ahead and check on Madlife's Bard record right here. It will be Ezreal and Lysandra.
It was almost the pivot to the Riven. From memory, I believe Saw was a Riven main.
Yes, he was.
Doesn't get to play it this time.
Like so many others.
It's true. SoHwan, Saw. To play their Riven recently, at least.
Yeah, Bard 2-0 for Madlife. Good memory.
What can I say? I remember the Bard players. The sweet Bard, though, never observed.
It's a secret that will ever remain closed
I
unless
feel like I should just watch.
Che suddenly gets swapped out again for Sweet.
I feel like I just watch Sweet solo queue and then like David Attenborough style narrate one of his Bard games. Like, there's the Sweet Bard in its natural environment.
Rarely seen. Never professionally photographed.
No, never.
Only amateurs photographing it. It's like Bigfoot, really.
Does it even exist? We've heard tall tales of it. Madlife. Looks like he'll be locking in a mid laner. He's been holding on to the LeBlanc for quite a while. Sky has shown not much, let's be real, but he's really struggled to harass or really control enemy mid laners, and now opting into, it looks like the Corki matchup. Interesting.
I find this Tom Kench paired with LeBlanc and Elise and Bard very odd. Of course, still going to be useful for saving the Lucian, but everyone else has a large amount of disengage or mobility to escape from these situations. So the top catch seems a bit unnecessary here when you could have gone for, I don't know, a Gnar or something along those lines.
Well, I mean, you could also look at it the other way and say it was a first rotation Tom Kench, and then the team comp didn't really come together to complement their first round of picks. And then SBENU, they're going to walk up to a turret. Corki and Ezreal will rain hell from range, and some very situational engage for CJ to stop the siege.
Well, a similar situation to what we saw from the Tigers in the last game, except instead of a Kennen, they have a Lissandra for disengage, but functionally the same. They have the Alistar, and they also have the Lee Sin, another high disruption jungler. So it's basically SBENU trying to replicate the Tigers' performance from Game 3 in the last series.
And on the other side, CJ, a little bit confused.
That is a confused composition. That is a confused draft, Papa Smithy. I agree with you. If they can get some picks, maybe it can work out. They've got a lot of mobility for ganks. I suppose that is an upside, but other than that, no clear strengths to the CJ composition. We are going to get into game number 1 right now. SBENU versus CJ. Oh, cut off again. What a tease, Papa Smithy. What a tease.
There's always the potential to rule the world, but sometimes I'm just not clear on that.
There's always a potential for Riot to give these teams base banners, but I wonder when we're going to see that happen.
It's a long season, Monty. There's time.
Korean teams, you know, they really don't deserve base banners. They've only won Worlds for the last 3 years. Sorry, they have the trophies. They don't need the banners.
Exactly.
In the game. They have the skins.
You're going to be on a hit list with comments like that, Monty.
I already am.
It's
I
true.
already am.
It's true.
It's okay. I've learned to live with it, Papa Smithy.
It's tough to rule the world, Monte Cristo.
Gotta constantly be watching your back.
Sassen is just
having a ball.
He really is. He always looks like he's having a good time, whether he's picking the off-meta picks or trying to flank people on Quinn mid. He enjoys his time in the booth. And you needed that last season for SBENU, given all the losing they were doing.
Yeah, but things turned around. You really saw development in this team over the season. And we thought the addition of Flawless might be the missing piece because Catch was easily their worst player last season.
He's off in Japan now, I believe.
Yes, he is.
Sassen still rocking out in the back line with these minions.
Calling you a Whiskey Delta.
David
Korean.
Bowie reference, of course, and that's in with Corki as well. Rest in peace.
Yeah, so sad.
It's not been a good year for celebrity games.
It's a young year, but true enough. Okay, so SBENU versus CJ. We have a lane swap to start off this one. Lane swaps in all of our games tonight, actually.
Peculiarly, Untara wasn't interested in the jungle follow. He just showed up in lane. It feels like communication around the lane swap was scattered after so many clean lane swaps in our previous series.
And again, we are going to see weak side starts from every single jungler and top laner.
I mean, the theory is that you start on the weak side, unless there's some sort of double or man invade, you should be able to pick up the buffs. And then by the time you clear, you time that precisely with the minion wave pushing from your duo lane and then start for that fast push. But
right,
CJ were not quick on the timer. They are behind in that this game.
If you start on the strong side too, you may not even get a chance to farm out one quadrant of the jungle if the enemy starts on the weak side, because their jungler will move into that side after the top laner comes up. You'll be pretty unsafe if you try and double back over there just as a jungler alone. So these are all reasons why weak side start is preferable as long as there isn't an invade.
I believe there was actually a display of how not to do it in the, I think it was Chaogu versus either Vici or RNG, I forget, where Chaogu basically just let themselves get 3-buffed watching it on in the LPL last week. So just go for the most likely strategy to pick up the advantage, or at least trade objectives evenly, and that's what we see in this game.
Indeed. Well, standard starts from each of these teams in the lane swap. Soar, of course, will be getting the solo gold, patiently awaiting the minion wave's death. Oh, he got impatient. Time to push it down. And Untara and Kramer will split on the bottom side as they back off Madlife now. Recalling, and where will he go? He will go into the top side with Kramer for the push on the wave reversal, followed by some more glorious turret swapping.
Yay!
That's your favorite. Actually, we
turret
may see SBENU play around this Ezreal the same way we saw the Tigers do it in the previous series. He's down there alone right now. And Secret, nope, he's not going topside to save his turret. Instead, he is going down to split XP. I actually really like the way the Tigers played around the Ezreal. I think that was smart.
Getting the Ezreal to level 6, just throw that cross-map burst was actually relevant multiple times during the series, and Tara's overextended.
Yes, he is. Yeah, knocked around. And Tara takes some poke right there. Shield popped. No real harm done. In the end, pretty damn tanky on that Tahm Kench, even at this very early moment in the game.
No items, but the kit really is for being hit.
The kit is for being the hit.
I wanted to go further with that, but I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there.
No more rhyming.
No more rhyming. No rhyming couplets allowed.
Oh, couplets are my favorite, though.
You have a Shakespearean air about you, Monster.
I did. I acted in a lot of Shakespeare, actually.
Where are the VODs for that?
Where are the VODs for that? There are recordings of it, actually.
Excellent. Stick them on YouTube.
No, I don't think I will. You know?
A certain MLG recording needs to go on there as well.
That is gone, by the way.
Yeah, I believe it. When I don't see it.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's how that ends.
You know, I played Richard III.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
It's a good play.
It's great. It's a great role.
Did you get rave reviews?
I did. That was actually my last play that I was ever in. And probably will ever be in.
What a different world that would be if you would have continued with that.
Shakespearean acting?
Yes.
It's the only kind of acting I did in college.
You could be at the Crown Vic or something right now.
I like this life better, Bob Smithy.
That's fair. Esports bowling.
All right, Secret going to get caught out a little bit. Madlife tapping him for some damage. Sasa comes in to help, though. So just a vision war and a string of blue wards, rather, going down the middle for SBENU as they start to push forward on that bottom side. We have a little bit of a different lane swap this time. Kramer and Madlife had made moves into the bottom side to protect their tier 2. However, this results in a situation where they are actually not farming 3 lanes because Untara is not getting farm deep into Soar's side of the map. Interesting decision.
Not really playing around their vision either. Double pink wards on the top side of the map, but not looking to invade to maybe get some blue side advantage, get advantage over the blue buff side of SBENU. So they have wards down, it's just not really doing anything with them at the moment as CJ Entus.
No, but they will try to have bubbling come up to protect Untara. Meanwhile, Flawless taking the long, long road into a possible lane gank, or he's going to ping a pink ward and then not go for it. So he's here to back up the extension of Soar and wait for a counter gank.
Maybe level 6 also coming soon from Soar. Yep, just pings it. Lee Sin himself doesn't have 6. Swatted by a ward.
Yep, and pinged out. But this will provide Soar the opportunity to push all the way into the enemy turret and punish Tahm Kench's rather poor ability to farm under turrets early, so they will deny a certain amount of CS like that. We'll see how much he comes out with when the wave is finally over.
Actually gets a lot more auto attack damage with the on-hit effect that he gets with his level 6 ping, so for now we'll struggle under turret. The Tahm Kench.
There we go. Kramer doing the same, but Nuclear here and able to easily take it.
It's worth noting that if SBENU and if both AD carries are just splitting farm, then Ezreal with a tier is obviously getting the bigger advantage compared to the Lucian, who's lane dominant in a 2v2 or a 1v1 situation.
Yeah, and we do see the pickaxe coming through from Nuclear early, so a bit of a deviation compared to the build from Pray. I have to say, I do like Pray's faster Iceborne just a bit better. I think it serves as a better bridge to get into the mid game, and the Muramana timing, sure it's delayed, but it's less of a risk.
Manamoon as a one-item completion doesn't really do a lot. It's like an extra 20-25 AD. It's not a big factor. Honestly, Sheen is a bigger part of damage because Ezreal's about staying safe and sniping or poking from range rather than all in. And then Iceborne Gauntlet as a completed item just has so many different stats. It makes you safer because you have cooldown reduction. in general, it's the better complete. So not really clear on the pickaxe. It might have just been making the most out of the gold timing he had. Maybe it was a later tier into just pickaxe because he couldn't afford a sheen.
Yeah, always something to consider is that leaving the base with something, oftentimes much more valuable than getting exactly what you want.
Let's assume he had 875 gold. If you're leaving the base with either a tier or like a tier sapphire crystal and boots, you're not really rocking any sort of threat.
So Ezreal now back into some pretty passive farming here, and lots of wards defensively placed for SBENU. They've got some deep wards in the top side though, so they are looking to capitalize on this matchup. However, Untara has done a good job of making a comeback when it comes to farm. And now Soar catching the remnants of the wave, but it's not going to be a whole lot to pick up. So nice job by CJ just to take back an element of this game.
I really liked how CJ pathed around bot. They had the advantage between the Lucian and Ezreal matchup. They took the enemy red buff, got out, that was great. But they should have continued to monopolize the bot side advantage with Dragon. 10 minutes in, we saw so many quick Dragons picked up in the previous series between the Rocks Tigers and KT Rolster, but this time they haven't taken that next step. They got the buff, but they could have taken a Dragon as well. And for now, it's just back to passive farm wars on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, I agree. A shade disappointing, especially because they are up against that blue buff Ezreal, and there's no doubt that they have an advantage while SBENU is waiting for their first power spike around this Corki and around this Ez. Soar just attempting a little bit of a freeze right here.
Man,
Untara does have some nice forward wards, so he is going to see anything really that comes through the river at him. They've got him, so you can't come over the wall up into the top river. You can't really do anything without being seen by CJ.
Sky looked for the all-in, forced there to back up Ssumday. He has Ignite on Corki. We didn't mention this, but that's curious. We don't often see Ignite.
Yeah, very true.
We would just expect heal as a stand summon, maybe barrier in a terrible matchup, but an offensive choice against LeBlanc of all champions.
Bold, but they can drop it on somebody who's coming in. Perhaps they can do some work. I haven't seen him pop it yet for any kind of trade. Double sheens now.
Oh boy.
So it's beginning, and Kramer is just going to get kicked. Soar is already here. First blood to Elise. Oh, was it to Elise? Yeah, like it. So Sassin actually going to fall in the mid lane. Kramer in the bottom side. Simultaneous ganks. And that means, let's take a look at what happened up here.
Sassin went for a leisurely walk in the river, died instantly.
Yep, Madlife just flashing into position to land his Q. All too easy for the support, and that is why you don't do that.
No, you do not. Not as Ignite Corki.
They're going to try and actually put a lot of damage down on the mid turret. It could be a major trade here for CJ. Nice setup on that play, and the early mid tower is going to be hugely beneficial to CJ when it comes to map pressure, and they are going to get it. So that gank onto Sassin, absolutely huge. Sure, they trade evenly in turrets, evenly in kills, but that mid, by far the most important objective, especially because SBENU is running this poke composition.
The blue buff, sorry, the mid to bottom lane train, in terms of global gold, obviously it's identical, but the control you get from poking down that mid turret, the minion's going to push in, suddenly taking things like Dragon, and the enemy buffs get easier, but because of the recall timings, SBENU does pick up that first Dragon, delay any sort of potential stacking from CJ.
Yeah. Wow. So this is a really interesting situation because you almost never want to lose that mid turret first, but particularly if you are a poke comp, you want to gather up in that mid lane, take the tier 1, because otherwise you don't really have access to rotate freely through the enemy jungle to take out the tier 2. Now they're going to be forced to overextend in the mid lane, and that's going to open them up to some Bard ults from Madlife. Speaking of which, not going to land. Soar gets out of it, only a single golden minion glistening in the lane.
And that's the big factor you mentioned, is that you're going to, when you're a poke comp, you want to go into the enemy mid lane turret, throw down your siege, poke at the turret, and then back away to your own turret. Without that sort of defense, any lane ward is going to be crucial. Now if you're SBENU, you need to pink ward behind you to ensure that the world's easiest flank isn't offered to CJ. And even then, someone like Tom Kench can easily get in the back line.
Exactly. Or the Bartle will allow some sort of catch-up. But now Bubbling's going to get knocked around. Flawless just wrecks him. And here's Madlife. You are with your jungler, but that is too much damage. 2 kills. And SBENU might be able to turn around this mid lane pressure.
They really want to capitalize on those 2 kills to take this turret. Only LeBlanc, risky wave clear, and then some trying to get into this wave. They're going to get, at minimum, a lot of damage here. And realistically, should be the answering turret.
They come in with the culling, but Secret's there with enough damage. Does pull, misses Sky. Secret going down, however, he has to use the heal in the end from Nuclear to stay alive. True Shot Barrage hits Madlife as he magical journeys through a giant crystal. And let's take a look at this. Q lands.
Actually takes it in. Bubbling did not expect him taking it, then kicks away the Elise from the magical journey.
The W2 to block the exit was pretty damn sexy.
You weren't here for that match, but
I saw it. I saw it.
Played an amazingly. So the 5-man kick at the end of the game was a true highlight of that promotion tournament. And many more. Here's to many more.
I know. Great Lee Sin play.
Actually has a Kindle gem, so I'm guessing maybe Locket coming through.
Yeah, I wonder where he's going with that one. I mean, his build's been a little odd.
Black Cleave is an option.
Warrior enchant into swiftness. Does have the tracker's knife for the wards, but Flawless is not a mere Sightstone jungler.
It's gonna be either Black Cleaver or Locket.
I hope it's Black Cleaver.
I know you do. I know you do. He has double AD, so some merit to that pickup, especially with snowballing. Sassen has the package.
He's got it in the mid lane.
He does indeed. Is it time for a zoning package play?
It is, right now. Sky here, however, they do magical journey over that wall, but that poke is coming in quick. There we go. 2-man Bard ultimate. Soar just ult Sky, so he can't follow up. And Tara in the mix, though. He's going to get that package. Will zone out the rest of the members of CJ. Tara has to pop his shield. Sky in trouble. Flawless actually flashes out of his Q follow-up. Wow. And Bubbling finds him on the flank for the one and only kill. It's not going to stop the siege, though, so mission relatively unsuccessful for CJ.
Every time Flawless doesn't pull off one of these engages, other names like Questionable and Peculiar maybe are more apt.
That was pretty hilarious. He decided he didn't actually want to go into that engagement after all.
He canceled his Lee Syndrome queue and died anyway. The best and the worst of Flawless encapsulated in about 4 minutes of play.
At least he's entertaining to watch, right, Papa Smithy?
Well, that's right. Catch was entertaining too, but for purely the wrong reasons.
Yes, absolutely the wrong reasons. You were right. Looks like it's going to be a Locket. I'm disappointed.
What a buzzkill.
It was.
Flawless, please.
All the sweet Black Cleaver Lee Sin plays that will be denied, robbed of this game.
Which is surprisingly even at this point. That early mid lane turret, I think, put a lot of wind in the sails of CJ Entus.
Flawless's camera just turned off right there. He's hiding.
Till the next Lee Sin play.
Till the next Lee Sin play. Then he'll regain his confidence once again, no doubt.
So definitely want to use his flash more offensively than canceling animations.
That was a pretty offensive use of flash, Papa Smithy.
Sure, but in a different way. Not peanut gallery offensive.
I was offended.
I can tell. Let's clear waves, yay!
It's the best part of League of Legends these days.
Hilariously, it's not the KT series where we're making them win.
Well, you know, if this was the Coup Tigers, they would almost have won this game already with this composition.
That's true, the game would be over, basically.
Yeah. Ended in 23 minutes in the last one.
I've learned that SBENU aren't as good as CJ Entus.
Have you learned that yet? I feel
sorry,
like we're
not
still
as good
looking
as
at
the
that
Ross
one. Okay, so Sassen comes forward right now. Bubbling in trouble. Nice come over the wall. Good engage.
Nice.
From Soar. Double kill for Flawless.
Not to be denied.
Not to be denied. Sassen and Soar do the work, but Flawless gets the kills.
To clear out my previous point, SBENU aren't as good as the Rocks Tigers, but suddenly, at 18 minutes, they're pushing on.
Yeah, very good. They're going to take their first Tier 2, no doubt, of this game. We see that Iceborne Gauntlet complete now to complement the Trinity Force. And there we go. Another quick back off from SBENU. And CJ Untara is here in the top side, relentlessly attacking a tier 2 turret, while SBENU is going to take their second dragon of the game.
Yep.
So starting to assert their dominance over that objective, the only 2 so far games.
So we're going to see the replay, and the big factor here comes with the Lissandra engage. It's beautiful from Saw. This is a player that's been much maligned. Both Saw and Soul, if I remember correctly, the 2 top laners,
Yes.
both did definitely fight to see. It didn't really look like a big factor, but Lissandra play a lot more clean. It's crucially, we saw 2 Lissandra games from Saw last time out, but it was against Ssumday's Fiora where he got horribly outscaled. Not that same pressure here. Obviously, we'll struggle to kill the Tahm Kench in the late game, but the wave clear is always going to be relevant.
Yes, yes it will. Though it is still relatively short range wave clear, which can make it tricky at times. Soar, though, really did execute on the teleport flash play right there. Great engage.
So back to the farming phase. Looking at the warding, it's definitely good defensive to mid-range warding from SBENU, but CJ have good defensive warding as well, so no real big advantage in that particular regard right now.
Well, how you play it from this point is you need to get very much some deep wards in that side so you can push up mid and then have one of your split pushing players push the wave and then join that wave as soon as you get the mid wave past where the tier 2 would be how you would play this in an ideal setting. So SBENU now, they don't quite get that level of control, and instead they opt for a red buff, which is, I don't know what it's doing right now.
That red buff
It actually went exactly the opposite direction in spite of no one attacking it that way.
Strange.
That was one of the weirder interactions with red buff that I've ever seen. As you would call it, a hidden feature.
Another excellent hidden feature. They're the best features. You don't even know to expect them, and they surprise and delight you.
They do. I feel delighted. There were only happy accidents, right, Papa Smithy?
You got nice...
That's what I learned from Bob Ross.
Happy accidents.
Just a happy little accident of League of Legends. And so double stun. That's going to chain into a culling, but a really weird Bard ultimate. And so now they don't have a whole lot to beat back the poke, and CJ's still going to be going after this turret. Are they going to get it? Secret's going to flash in very awkwardly and die.
That was really funny. Wow. There's a moment to forget for Secret.
That was easily the worst Alistar play we've seen tonight, although it's not really fair because...
Was it a nice counterpoint to Gorilla?
We saw Gorilla play 3 games of Alistar, so... Usually, Alistar's Secret's best champion, or was last year. I'm actually surprised to see him do that.
Sandbagging Monte Cristo.
I don't think that's true.
The late game engaged will be much better.
Okay. They do save the turret, though. A worthy sacrifice of a cow and a flash.
A tale of a cow and a flash. Engage, not necessarily the biggest option. Saul wasn't in position right there, and Secret obviously didn't cover himself in glory, so package is observed this time. Will Sarsen go for something crazy?
He wants it. You can see Flawless there waiting for a follow-up. Here he goes, right onto Madlife. Instant magical journey and stun onto Sarsen. Actually, that was actually very well played by Madlife. Good reaction. And Madlife has been actually having a surprisingly good season on a team that has not won a game. He has been really the main reason that his team has stayed in some of these games.
To be expected.
To be expected. I mean, he's playing with a couple true rookies here in Sky and Untara.
Today, of course, we have both players who played in that first invitational tournament in January 2012 playing between Madlife and Score.
Yeah, exciting. The longest tenured players.
12 seasons in.
12 seasons in. Some poke coming over the wall for Secret, and Untara is trying to get some wards on the flank, but those will be quickly destroyed by the members of SBENU, who have fallen behind in gold in this game, and they really need to accelerate the pace of this if they want this poke composition to work.
It feels like that early turret going down in mid disrupted their rotations, disrupted their rhythms, and
it is really hard to come back from that.
They're just sitting back, farming, trading farm. And when you're trading farm against a comp that, again, we mentioned, doesn't have necessarily a concrete identity, but isn't an early siege poke comp like SBENU have, there is definitely a late game where CJ will be in the ascendancy.
If they can find the right Tahm Kench targets, if they can hit the right Bard ults, I'll agree with you.
The
there are a lot of
ifs
ifs
definitely
here.
are reining in, but the thing you can say is that SBENU have a timer to this. Maybe not the poke comps of 2 years ago, but still there's an expectation that they are a certain amount ahead by 30-35 minutes.
Yeah, and right now they have fallen behind, so they have to keep looking for these turrets. But at 23 minutes, this game was over in Game 3 when the Tigers came in and rolled forward with a near perfect execution. And there's really not that much more wave clear from CJ than there was from KT in that first game of the series.
If anything, there's less.
Yeah, arguably, yeah.
They've got Lucian, who his ultimate obviously will clear a full wave, and outside of that, not really a lot.
Yeah, Lucian, Lissandra Rise in the last game, so yeah, definitely maybe a little bit less. Argue for some mimics, and Secret gonna go in, bounce up Bubbling. That'll be a follow-up with the ult from Bard, and that'll be Secret knocked into the wall, but he's going to use his ult immediately. Untara now in the river. Ssumday going to come over the wall into 3 members of CJ and get absolutely chunked by this LeBlanc. Bubbling going to come in with the repel to finish it up with the execute. Nuclear still alive, but a 1 for 2 engaged by SBENU, but they come out the losers in that engagement after some really sloppy team fighting. Ssumday went over the wall into 3 members and immediately had to flash out.
And Untara was occupying so much space in the front line, ate the Lee Sin, was basically tussling with 3 while Kramer did not take a lick of damage the entire fight. Strong front line is what CJ picked with this Tahm Kench and functioning in that fight.
Yeah. Take another look at this.
So you'll notice that just as the Bard ult comes down, that's when Tahm Kench is also going into the backline. Why I assumed that it was channeled in this space. Tahm Kench shows up behind and occupies so much space. That's why Ssumday goes so crazy, because he thinks he has backup, but everyone is blocked by the Tahm Kench.
Yeah, there's absolutely no follow-up for his engage, and Bubbling is the one who finds the target, has to flash out himself.
Maybe there was a split call, because Ssumday was
Definitely
going in and everyone else was trained on trying to kill or get rid of the Tahm Kench in the backline.
Very awkward. SBENU still milling around, not having a very clear or clean idea of how to close this game or even take any more turrets.
Let's say you're the Rocks Tigers right now. You're just transported into this game. We sub them out, hot swap in of the Rocks Tigers. What's the first thing you do with this very similar comp that SBENU's put together that SBENU haven't been able to pull the trigger?
You have to push up the mid and try and get some deep vision so you can transition into a split push. It's going to be harder for them with the TP down on Soar to make that a reality, but number one, you need vision in their jungle so you can anticipate where they're going, but instead they're playing super defensively at this point. And Untara there gets the wave all the way up to the inhibitor turret where Soar is happy to catch it just a little bit passively.
If anything, CJ are double split pushing and applying map pressure while SBENU kind of let them. It's LeBlanc in the top lane, no teleport, but still getting the split push off. And as you mentioned, Soar not having teleport means that their strategic options are limited. They're really paying for this at the moment, SBENU.
Yes, and it's tough though. Not having a TP for use means that they do have more limited options when it comes, because this Tahm Kench being there could absolutely wreck them at any point in time. They have to have some sort of confidence, like you said, get some wards behind them as they methodically put the pressure on.
One of the changes in the vision system, which again have been rolled back a little bit with the changes on Yellow Trinket. Not observed in this game. We haven't seen as much Yellow Trinket as I think we might see by the time the 6.1 meta shakes out. But the thing about the rotation you were talking about, if you get pink wards specifically in a line in, say, the top red side jungle of CJ Entus, you can make those aggressive rotations between top and mid, push in the mid wave, make the direct path between mid and top through the jungle, knowing you're not being spotted out. And when you're the first to rotate, that's when you always win the chip damage war. And because they haven't been able to get even spot vision, let alone pink wards, let alone permanent wards, that result is that SBENU have basically been at the whim of CJ, and it's CJ actually applying the map pressure.
Yeah, and remember, Untara did start this pretty far behind Lissandra when it came to farm, but it hasn't actually panned out into a sustained advantage here from Soar, who has had some pretty decent engages, but really it's been Untara's farm and the slow build into tankiness that has been noteworthy. 28 minutes into this game, Untara still there with TP, And the Baron bait is going to begin for SBENU, who think that this may be the best option that they have. But they have a poke comp, so not sure they're going to have the burst to actually finish somebody off should a face check even come through.
That's right, the ideal fight for SBENU is with medium to low health members under an enemy turret, kiting backwards and winning a fight, rather than trying to force something against the Bard, who can completely disrupt Baron being taken, or the positioning around Baron, the pick power of Elise, LeBlanc, and of course the Tahm Kench get in the back line and already is basically unkillable.
Yeah, he is. So Untara just basically free farming in bot.
It's at level 16. If we learned anything about level 16 Tahm Kench, does a lot of damage as well.
Oh, he's 2 levels up. Also on Soar. Really starting to show how that solo experience comes into play.
Good luck killing him.
Yeah, seriously. SBENU have a very rough time when it comes to that. So they're turning their sights onto Baron again. This would be very risky Baron. No vision on it right now. Madlife has to walk in. He has a pink ward right above it, so he knows he can actually ward the pit if necessary. There is no vision there from SBENU.
There's not enough information from SBENU around. There's not even a ward on the enemy red buff. That's how little extra vision they have outside of the Baron pit.
Madlife's still here. Looking for a shot with his Q's, and Soar actually going to turn around onto Bubbling. Bubbling takes a huge amount of damage, but Bubbling actually coming back. There we go. Nuclear is back here to save him. Bubbling goes too deep. Soar gets the kill. The help of the Twin Shadows, or the Spooky Ghost rather, but Flawless on the other side finds his death as well. So both junglers caught deep behind enemy lines. Yeah, the Frost Queen claim popped by Soar, giving Nuclear enough time to save him.
45 seconds till Baron spawns. Both jungles will be alive, but not close to the dragon by then. Looking at the vision, CJ actually have the control of the area. They've got their first. If they pick up a second, the 5th dragon win condition certainly almost, if not wholly, off the table.
Yeah, survival from CJ, the name of the game. They've managed to outlast this push. So here we go. Scuttle Crab finds its way into the clutches of CJ Entus. And they will control that for the next dragon, spawning in just about 10 seconds.
This is definitely not the KT Rolster versus Rox Tiger series, so we see the replay.
Yeah, turning that around on the Bubbling, but you see the repel. Where is Flawless in all of this? He goes on to Kramer.
He tries to be the tank that buys all the time of the AD carry, but unfortunately had no backup whatsoever. Dies.
He also didn't have a lot of armor at that point. Has Dead Man's Plate to complement his defensive stats now. All right, so dragon attempt here from CJ. They've got it down to about 3K. Now, will we see a steal attempt from Flawless? Yes, we will. He gets it and backs out with his W. So Safeguard going to turn this around. Secret is picked up and spit out, but Untara getting very low, does pop it into the shield. Soar on the backside has to ult himself, but that's not going to do much in this team fight. Kramer still walking forward, gets hit by a Mystic Shot, so he can't pursue, but SBENU with the objective win.
Yeah, the smite mechanics on point from Flawless. Did use the smite there, rode in on the Q. Good play from him. CJ probably should have disengaged at a higher HP to avoid the Q damage coming through, allowing the steal for Flawless. And Tara's actually going in super aggressively this Baron.
Yeah, well, I guess he's just TPing there to clear wards.
Guess so. I hope for more.
Did you, Papa Smithy?
From the series, from that, yep.
Very awkward use of teleport. That means Soar is going to have a really good timing window to work with here, and this could be the advantage that SBENU needs to start pressing forward and taking towers again.
And that's the game that's largely abandoned them. They took the outer ring very quickly. The mid wasn't answering turret, but still had the outer ring down. At the kind of timing they were looking for, it's just pushing into the inner ring of turrets. They've got the inner mid lane turret, but never the vision that we spoke about multiple times to easily transition into either top or bottom lane turret. And the minion waves, if anything, have been pushed out onto SBENU's side of the jungle rather than facilitating the aggressive rotations they realistically want to be doing.
Yeah, that's the big story right here. And most of that is Untara just creating one wave of pressure that SBENU doesn't have too many answers to. If they send Soar there, there's just no way he can actually kill a Tahm Kench in a 1v1.
Not that Tahm Kench, especially. Multiple health items working on the Thorn Mail. He is certainly going to be a massive backline nuisance. It's just whether Sky and Kramer will have enough damage to deal with the relatively squishier front line coming through from SBENU.
Oh, they have to do something. SBENU can't simply sit here and hope that CJ is going to make a mistake, especially that they will just get outscaled when it comes to the late game, especially as this Tahm Kench gets bigger and bigger. He is going to be so incredibly unkillable for SBENU.
Saying it lightly, Tahm Kench does have outscale potential, but that doesn't mean that teamfight wins are clean as...
Oh, misbarred ult there. Madlife nearly pays for it with his life, and Flawless is going for it. He's going to be the hero. I don't know what he expected. Cosmic Binding. He's still going after it. No, W's into the pit. And the most obvious follow-up of a magical journey taken by Elise N, perhaps ever.
Don't see many enemy magical journey takes in general in competitive play. It's usually too risky.
That's why.
Unless you're Flawless.
Let's go for it anyway. Hope that he forgets to press Q and you can press Q first.
Really didn't think his nickname would be an ironic one. He went from Flaw to Flawless, and if anything has floundered since. Don't know what that says. Okay, Tahm Kench ulting.
Missile Voyage right into a couple wards. Here's Madlife 2. Two fat guys traveling through the ground together.
I object to you calling good old Bard a fat guy.
He is a fat guy.
Is he actually a person? Not really, right?
Whatever.
In your mind, it's just a bad Santa Claus costume, isn't it?
How is Bard not a fat guy?
He's a fat character, I guess.
So basically, your objection is not to be calling him fat.
No.
It's to calling him guy.
He's certainly rotund.
Okay.
That part was definitely confirmed.
I didn't know guy was so offensive these days.
Guy.
I can't keep up with all the political correctness. Papa Smithy, I'm getting too old.
It's true. You're hitting 30 this year,
I know, it's awful.
Time flies. Still very young for a Shakespearean actor. If you do pivot your career.
Still make it over there. I definitely haven't hit the distinguished older Shakespearean actor part yet.
That's true. You have that awkward middle ground where you just don't fit either of the roles. So CJ, predictably, they probably exceeded their own expectations in the early game, specifically getting that mid lane turret. And then SBENU kind of lost it. How to push their advantage, and the result is not much.
Yeah, not much. Another dragon here, so this could be SBENU's chance to start knocking on the door of number 5. And that will be hotly contested, no doubt, by CJ. Everyone's starting to prepare themselves for that inevitability. Kramer with an elixir on for this next little engagement. Madlife again popping through the wall on the Bard.
Has teleport, but obviously will be slow to react. Seems like we're going to expect the
Baron.
Bard ultimate and the teleport channel from Intara about the same time. But yeah, Baron is definitely live and cheating towards it, SBENU.
Yeah, they want to take this if they can, at least force some sort of trade or decision out of CJ. But it's a lot of dancing around right now, and Bubbling now has the Banshee's Veil to block some of that poke.
And it's opting into a fight around a choke that their comp certainly isn't built around. As Intara just freely farms to 18, basically.
Yeah, he's just been stuck in these side lanes forever. Has 18 now. And is he going to join up? Looking like he wants to get in range of his ultimate at the very least. He's now actually on the tier 2 turret himself.
Just readjusting in my chair. This could be a long one.
It's going to be a long one, Papa Smithy.
That time is a long though, so when we eventually get a fight, the game should end.
Okay, Kramer going to take the magical journey back, dash out, and here we go. The dragon dance beginning. Intara is putting down damage though, and actually making a play right here.
If Soa's going to stay group, they need to go for something. They need to go for it now to justify not just wave clearing.
Yeah, and they're going to take Culling to the face instead, Papa Smithy.
Okay.
And they're going to try and take this dragon. So here we go. SBENU is all in. Here comes the TP from the side. Intara has arrived. There's the E not going over the walls. They're going to try and take it. No, Lucian gets it in the end for CJ. Sky is going to fall first, but there is a double kill for Nuclear as the split call from CJ ultimately sinks them. Kramer has to flash forward, and the noose is closing around the neck of CJ. Another 2 kills, or at least one will be the result. Nope, 2 kills as Nuclear gets it. Bubbling manages to escape to a push in the bottom side, but this is going to be, at minimum, a mid inhibitor going down.
Split call from SBENU really did cause them to fall behind in this game in a high-pressure comp, much like the Rocks Tigers were rocking in the previous game. This time, however, a split call from CJ. The dive into the backline of Untara, who is unkillable, but not when he's basically tanking 5 members, while Sky tried to make the flank as well. The other 3 members didn't seem very interested, and they just died.
Yeah, they left Sky and Untara out to dry while they focused on the Dragon. Really a sloppy team fight from CJ.
Just look at this backline, Bubbling, Madlife, and Kramer. What do they accomplish in this fight? Untara shows up. This should be all in, everybody. Let's go, but instead, CJ take the Dragon.
Yeah, where is their team right here?
They were killing the Dragon, Monty.
Oh my. All right, well, speaking of things dying or things getting killed, Baron will fall to Flawless and the rest of SBENU.
But don't worry, CJ got the second Dragon.
Okay, they got their second Dragon. They delayed number 5. There's an extended fight. Nuclear moving on forward to help finish up the final kill in that 4-for-none engagement.
I got nothing.
It's going to be a long season for CJ fans, Papa Smithy.
It certainly is. Well, I mean, just this is the time. Hyperbolic Sleep Chamber, March. Turn that timer, March. If Futurama's a great show, March 2016. Maybe March 20th.
Just freeze yourself until then, is that what
Definitely.
you're saying?
Cartman did it. Fry did it.
You can now do it. Cryogenic sleep, the way for CJ fans to maybe be happy in the future. You know what? I would just turn it up to like next year.
The question is, when did you first go into that slumber, given CJ's last couple of years?
Yeah, I think you go into next year because even though BDD and Ghost will probably be improvements, the odds of them taking some time to acclimate themselves to the professional game, no matter how skilled they are mechanically, is high. So
the CJ fan, during that undefeated season in the semi-final, before they placed MVP Ozone, went into cryogenic sleep, woke up next year. They probably wouldn't have missed much.
Yeah. So here we go now. Flawless going to come in and knock Kramer out, but now he's in trouble. He's going to get chained by the LeBlanc. Secret has to use his ultimate to get out of this one, but Soar finds himself in the back line, and that's a big kill onto Sky, whom he locks up with his ultimate. Soar does fall, but they get that kill. So 1-for-1 the trade, but Inhibitor goes to SBENU.
SBENU, every time they force the team fight, they realize that their comp isn't really tuned for the 5v5. It's not like CJ have a landslide advantage, it's just that SBENU aren't far enough ahead to overcome their relative compositional disadvantage in 5v5. So they get the objective, that part's fine, but they just need to be cleaner with taking what they came for and getting out rather than trying to bite off more than they can chew.
Yeah, 2 members really overcommitting to that. Flawless and Soar going deep into the back line. Sure, they get Sky, but even trades when you have a Baron buff and 2 inhibitors probably means you're doing something wrong when it comes to pressuring with the minions, because they shouldn't be able to 5v5 you in that scenario.
SBENU going to try and get some of the easier objectives. They got double inhibitors down, so it should just be academic for them to pick up this outer top lane turret. CJ looked like they want to contest anyway.
Yeah, going to move up into the top lane. Untara is very full.
Didn't get a Thorn Mail in the end.
I wish I changed colors when I was full, Papa Smithy. That'd be very exciting.
It would be.
Like a mood ring for food.
Well, SBENU's going to take this turret. No way to put up opposition from CJ.
Right, here we go. Perhaps, nope, culling will crush my hopes and dreams of this game ending in a timely fashion.
Give it 10 minutes.
Okay, here we go. Final siege, the last inhibitor, and that'll be an easy pickup. Bartle not doing much. That is not an Abyssal Voyage you want to take. Untara actually going to go in, gets punted into the backlines. He is all alone against both carries, has to use his shield. Here comes Soar zoning out the rest of CJ, and they are cut off from their tank line. Kramer and Sky in big, big trouble. And Bubbling too, finding himself in a 1v1 versus Flawless, has to flash over the wall. Flawless is going to follow him into 3. Feel like I've seen this one before. But it doesn't matter. Too many super minions, and that's just going to be the end of the game as CJ will fall in 43 minutes to SBENU, who picks up their first win of the season in their 3rd game.
Definitely looked like 2 teams that hadn't picked up a victory fighting off for their first. SBENU in the end definitely had the better, more on-point draft phase. Didn't necessarily play around it perfectly, of course. Unfair to compare them to the Rocks Tigers, who really rocked a similar lineup in the previous game. But in the